Did I finish this book or did this book finish me? How many love interests are you gonna get? Why has no one just thought to like literally take a sword to the throat? Like, why has that not been an option yet? That's probably gonna go catastrophically wrong. Maybe I'm the problem. I could very well be the problem. But for now, I have my book, I have my Kindle, I have a drink, and I think this is as ready as we're ever gonna be. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today is a very exciting day because this is a video that is 6 months in the making. Finally, I have finished the Throne of Glass series. So this is part 2 of the Throne of Glass reading vlog. Going all the way back to Heir of Fire, I started reading this in January, and then somewhere throughout that I got married and went on my honeymoon. But now in June, I have finally finished. Do just want to say a big warning right at the start. This vlog is full spoilers. So if you have not read this series and you're wanting to, this video probably is not the one to watch. I did do a part 1 reading this series where I read the first 3 books, so I will make sure to link that above and below. That is spoiler free, so if you want a little intro to this, I would recommend you watch that first. But for all the girlies that have read this series, you know what I've just been through for the past 6 months. This was so emotionally devastating, and I severely underestimated this whenever I picked these books up. You're about to watch a wide array of emotions. Something with my reviews that I like to pride myself in is that I'm always going to be honest, and sometimes I have unpopular opinions. So not all of these are about to be a 5-star. If that's something that would irritate you or offend you, I'm so sorry, but I do just have to be authentic to myself, and I don't think it's helpful just because you like an author to rate everything 5 stars from them. So I just wanted to set the expectation going into this, especially if you're a huge fan of this series. I think it's healthy and productive sometimes for us to have a few differing opinions. But with all of that said, I think it's time to move into the reading vlog portion where I picked up Heir of Fire. You might notice with some of these first few books, I did give my general idea of ratings. However, some of the ratings have changed, and I'm going to provide all of the official ratings at the very end of the video. I think it's time to hop in, and I hope you guys enjoy. First check-in for our Throne of Glass reading vlog. And I need to document this moment because I'm having a lot of mixed feelings about the start of this book so far. And I'm honestly so surprised about it. I loved how Crown of Midnight ended. It was an easy 5 stars for me. I felt like Celaena was opening herself up to so much new power, a new world. She was really just like in a kick-ass mode where she was just going to take on anything and everything that came her way. But I don't know, the start of her in this book, it feels like she's regressed as a character. Her just like moping about on this random rooftop for 3 weeks, drinking wine and not really doing anything. I was just like, okay. And then when Rowan shows up and just takes her exactly where she needs to go and exactly who she's looking for, that's really oddly convenient. And then once we realize what Rowan and Maeve need her to do, we're just entering into another training sequence with her. And I'm like, haven't we already gotten a book or 2 about this? And just generally Celaena's mood and attitude throughout this book. I don't know, I feel like her character progression has just taken a huge step back, and I'm not really loving it. So since I've listed all my grievances, I will list a few things that I am liking about this book. The first thing is I can definitely see what people mean by saying that the world is expanding, because now we're getting so many different characters' POVs, which is something that I was very intimidated about. I know this is going to be very hard to keep track of because we're at least following like 6 different characters right now, and I think it's only going to get worse from here. But why I'm liking that we get some more POVs is obviously like up to this point we've generally just been stuck in Celaena's head, and there's so much about the politics and what's going on outside of the castle that she was unaware of. So now that we're getting that witch's point of view, Manon, I think her name is, we're actually seeing the king's plans and using the wyverns and the witches and how that's gonna end up being a huge freaking problem. Also getting Adian's POV I am enjoying because he's going to end up, I think, being a huge ally for Celaena since they are cousins, and he's been quietly undermining the king every chance he gets. I do have one more grievance though, now that we're talking about it. I really didn't like how easily Chaol gave up Celaena's secrets to Adian and then in turn spoiled the news to Dorian. I was like, yo, this is like the biggest secret. One of the biggest secrets of the series, because if this ever gets back to the king, Selena is dead. So I'm just like, why are we so freely telling that story when last chapter you hated Adian's guts and didn't trust him whatsoever, and now you're sharing like the biggest secret? I don't know. I feel like Kale just gave that up like way too easily. So that is my final grievance that I want to share right now. Can you tell I'm not fully loving this one? I'm hoping that whenever I come back, I have better news to share, because I really don't want to be dogging the series. I've loved the series thus far. I just need to start seeing a little bit more from our characters. Right now, they're kind of letting me down a little bit. Sorry, there's gonna be a glare in my glasses this clip, but I need my glasses to see, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm coming at you for another update on Heir of Fire. I am now fully in part 2. We are on chapter 50, page 425. I will say, like, the first 200 pages, somewhat a little bit difficult to get into and sink back into the world. Past 200 pages have absolutely flown and I've been eating it up. I do feel like Selena's story has now gotten a bit more interesting, with now learning about the king's soldier and these mutated people monsters that they're creating. But for a while, like, honestly, Selena's story was somewhat kind of the most boring one, which is not something I was expecting. But yet again, I think we're getting another love interest with Rowan, which I'm like, how many love interests are you gonna get? We've had Sam, we've had Dorian, we've had Cole, we have Rowan. And if there's going to be more, honestly, I guess good for you, Selena, but I feel like Rowan's gonna kind of be the end of the love interest, because there was that mention of like not being a mate, but being something similar to a mate. I'm gonna have to find the word, because it had a special word that I've never heard of before. There's like this special word whenever you can connect with another person, similar to a mate, in that it's like a very strong bond and you can kind of like share powers with one another. Since that was brought up, I mean, I definitely think they're gonna become that, but I definitely know that Dorian and Cole aren't going to be her mates, because there was that moment where she was questioning like, oh, I don't think Cole can be my mate considering I literally almost killed him. So I feel like Cole is just gonna be pushed to the wayside. Homeboy's a little bit too confused for his own good anyways. He's just like way too conflicted in his loyalties and he doesn't really know where he's gonna stand. Dorian, I don't know what's going on with Dorian. I know people talk about Dorian through the end of the series, so like I know he's gonna be involved in the conversation somehow, but Dorian's whole story with this healer girl right now, that's gonna turn out terrible. Either she's gonna be used against him, or she's spying on him and reporting all of his little secrets to the king. So either way, not good. And then finally with Adian, I feel like there's gonna be a little bit of a problem between Adian and Rowan, because like Adian is prepping himself low-key to be Selena's king, but obviously they can never be together because they're cousins. So that's where I feel like Rowan's gonna come into play. But these are my theories. I wanted to get them all out of the way before we got to the end of the book. I feel like this book is going to end with some type of fight sequence between the people in Mistward and the king's soldiers that are hiding out near there. I have less than 140 pages to go. I know that the end of Sarah J Maas books always go crazy, because she has been leaving us on some crazy cliffhangers throughout the end of each book in the series so far. So we will see how this one goes. I do have to say, like, this is probably one of my least favorites in the series so far. I get what it's doing, of it's building our characters' circumstances and situations in a much different light than they were previously, but I just feel like there's been a lot of building that it is a little bit boring. This is the book so far where I think genuinely the least happens. So right now it's probably sitting at about a 4 stars. Maybe it'll be bumped up a little bit with the ending, but I definitely don't foresee this one being 5 stars. So we shall see. What? What the heck? in that last clip, you watched me finish Heir of Fire. Sarah J. Maas definitely knows how to end a book. The last about 25 pages went absolutely crazy. And just a feeling that stuck with me at the end of this one is like, these kids, these characters are playing checkers and the king is playing chess. And it is just like so frustrating to read about them just constantly getting wrecked by him. Why has no one just thought to like literally take a sword to the throat? Like, why has that not been an option yet? I'm curious, with us building upon all these other characters in this one, is the king always going to be our enemy throughout the series? Because that's quite an enemy to have. Like, through an 8-book series, the King of Otterland is always who we're trying to go against. Or are we going to see someone else rise up? Because like with Selena going back to Rifthold now, how is Selena just like not going to chop his head off? Like, it's confusing to me because he seems to just upset so many people. He seems to just make enemies left and right, and yet he apparently just cannot be defeated by anyone. I don't know, like this book just didn't fully satisfy me, I think. And don't get me wrong, like there were still so many good parts of this. I absolutely tabbed the shit out of this book. With my tabs, I used 2 different colors and used them in their entirety. So there was a lot of good things that were happening in this one. I just think because we were introduced to so many characters' stories, a lot of the characters' progression throughout the book was fairly limited. And I think I'm gonna end up giving this one probably a 4 stars. A 4 stars is a great rating, of course, but I gave the last 2 5 stars. And so this dropping down like a whole rating does feel like a little bit harsh. I don't think enough happened, and when Selena / Aelin defeated the Valg princes, I found that part so cringy. I literally marked it because I was just like, ew, this is so dumb. Because the princes feed on your despair. They feed on darkness. She was just like, she would not let that light out again. She would fill the world with it, with her light, her gift. She would light up the darkness so brightly that all who were lost or wounded or broken would find their way to it, a beacon for those who still dwelled in the abyss. It would not take a monster to destroy a monster, but light to drive out darkness. And I was just like, really? I don't know. I feel that generally our villains within the Sarah J. Maas world are a bit more nuanced. And this one just felt so kind of pathetically basic. That also didn't help the rating. Kind of the largest amount of action we saw in this book is when the king's men moved against Miss Ward and Selena and Rowan had to fight against them. And for that to be concluded in such a basic way, I felt like was a bit of a missed opportunity. So that is my very thorough thoughts on this. Who knows, maybe I'm just in a little bit of a harsh mood today. Maybe this will increase in rating. We'll definitely do like a final review of the series at the very end of this video. But for now, I feel like Heir of Fire could have been a little bit better. So I'm gonna finally shut up now. And I will see you guys probably in a couple weeks whenever I am mentally ready to start Queen of Shadows. As you guys would have seen in the last clip, I made it to part 2 of Queen of Shadows, which takes us to about 60% through this book. And I do have to say, like the first 40%, I was feeling very similar to this one as I did about Heir of Fire, where I'm definitely not saying that these are poorly written books. It is very in-depth. We are exploring a lot of different characters and dynamics, but almost I feel like we're just trying to do a little bit too much. We are expanding to so many different characters, and some of our characters' POVs are so short that even though we're following them throughout this whole story, they're not really developing. I do have to say the last little bit has been a lot better because I just felt like there's been more action and our characters are coming together more. I'm really happy that Aedion is with Aelin. I'm really happy that Rowan is back with Aelin. While I definitely predicted the Rowan and Aedion dynamic that was going to take place, it is nice to have a couple different characters working together. I gotta say, I am surprised that Lysandra is within that mix too and actually helping the cause. I'll be honest, like, even though she did just do the damn thing and kill Arabin, I still have some thoughts, especially with Rowan figuring out that she's a shapeshifter and she had never mentioned that to Aelin just quite yet. I don't know. I'm glad that Lysandra's helping. I'm so glad that fucking Arabin is gone. He is such a snake. I hated him so much. Touching on a few other characters that feel very much off on their own journeys right now. Chaol, he is a little bit annoying in this book. Just everything he has to say to Aelin, calling her a monster, saying that he needs to put checks and balances on her when he's allowed the King of Adarlan and has served the King of Adarlan, literally massacring thousands of people. Dorian is completely gone. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with Dorian and the king, but I'll be honest, his character is such a wild card. I really don't even know what to expect with that. I feel like my biggest prediction though for a potential unexpected ally right now is actually going to be Manon. Everything that's going on with the witches and them being forced to breed, I feel like that's going to end up shifting her alliances because already members of the 13 have been turning against her for allowing this breeding to happen. I think she might end up going against the King of Adarlan. And since her and Celaena aren't really going for the same things or for the same power pieces of land, I don't really think they'd get into each other's way too much. So hopefully the witches and their wyverns end up being allies of Celaena and the people of Terrasen, because the army that the king is breeding right now definitely is going to cause a ton of problems. I really think right now the King of Adarlan is our biggest problem. I think Maeve will come back into the picture a little bit later. And we still have 40% left of this book, so I have to imagine that Celaena and the gang are going to do a little bit something about it. I am enjoying this, but I don't know. I don't really love how many POVs we're getting. I still think Throne of Glass was really good, potentially my favorite. Just because I felt like with the pacing, there was always action happening. The plot was always progressing forward. And Celaena's character and character motivations made a lot of sense and you could really sink into those with her. I just feel like we're almost doing a little bit too much in this one and it's very much not making me excited for the tandem. Literally just finished Queen of Shadows like 2 minutes ago and I have thoughts. I feel like I'm in the massive minority here when I say that this one still wasn't my favorite, and the ending just felt so convenient. Everyone talks about this one as if it is the best in the series and I just totally don't agree. Maybe I'm the problem. I could very well be the problem. There was a very annoying mix of characters literally being so useless at the end and then also things working out so conveniently for them that really honestly rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, the crew is in such a perfect place right now. Dorian's free. The king is dead. Aelin, Aedion, Rowan just made it to Terrasen, all alive and well. Lysandra's with them. Manon is kind of playing a little double agent, secret agent thing. I kind of thought that in that scene where Dorian wakes up in the middle of the night and goes outside and he ends up seeing Manon, I thought that was going to be a little bit more sinister and maybe Dorian was going to get taken over by a Valg prince again. But yeah, I mean, it was just like obviously plotting that Dorian and Manon are probably going to have a thing. It was just like too predictable for me. I feel like it's sacrilegious to say that, but I don't know, that's how I'm feeling. I think that's a massively unpopular opinion, so bear with me. This is just my initial thoughts. Potentially, as I see how these relationships grow, I will change my mind, but right now, it was okay. It was good, but like, it was also okay. I don't know how we have the tandem read after this. Like, I don't know how there's going to be that much lead up. I have to imagine that Kingdom of Ash is like the clash between Aelin and the Dark Forces. But like, how are we gonna have 1,300 pages of lead up to that? I was a little bit surprised why Kale is actually going to the southern continent. I did not see that he was going to get paralyzed and would have to go to the healers. I guess looping in the healers makes a little bit of sense because we had been introduced to them in the Assassin's Blade to the healer that was going to the southern continent, and like literally haven't heard from her since. So obviously she's going to be the one that meets Kale and helps him. Maybe Nezarin, who travels with Kale to the southern continent, is bad. Like, there's got to be a betrayal that happens here soon. I just don't think that it's gonna be Rowan, Adian, or Lysandra. So like someone else, potentially Dorian, turns on them, but like honestly I don't see that happening. I don't know, I'm just theorizing, but I just like don't see how we're about to enter into this next story. Cause like low-key, this is a really good stopping point, which thank God, because I don't plan on picking this up for another month. There's no way I'm entering into the tandem read 3 weeks before my wedding. That would be criminal to do. We have now finished book 5, I guess. I will sadly be picking up books 6 and 7 in about a month from now, and we'll see y'all then. So you know how I said I would pick up this vlog in a month or two? It's actually been 3.5 months since I last spoke to y'all. The idea of picking up this 1,300 page tandem read truly was the last thing I could comprehend doing, but I do come bearing good news. We have restarted the Throne of Glass journey, and I am a good chunk of the way through these books so far. These books have just felt so daunting to me. I mean, just look at the length of this and committing to the tandem read. It's truly been throwing off my love for reading, and it's been totally affecting me picking up any more fantasy books. But I think it's time that we just move forward, put this series behind me, and hopefully end on a positive note. I really feel like my enjoyment of it was fading with these last two, but at this point I am 239 pages into Empire of Storms. And I do have to say I am enjoying this book quite a bit. Our characters are in so many different places. I don't even know where to describe to you where I'm at. Okay, actually 2 paths just converged because Aelin just showed up on Skulls Bay, but that means that Adian and Lysandra are also with her on Skulls Bay. So at least we have like 6 characters together because damn, we were spread apart for a while now. Manon is hanging on for dear life. Elide and Lorcan are together. That's probably gonna go catastrophically wrong. And I really was like super worried entering into this one that I was gonna be so bored. As I mentioned in my last clip, I was just like so unsatisfied because it seemed like we were kind of reaching a happy ending. Obviously there were still a lot of loose threads, but overall it seemed like our characters were in a good position. So even though this is probably going to emotionally wreck me, I am actually happy that our characters are facing some challenges and are really needing to push themselves. It just felt too simplistic where we were at before, and now things are really starting to get crazy. Regarding Tower of Dawn, I am almost like halfway through this one. I'm at page 294. Cole has been working with the healer a ton. I think her name is Irene. Unfortunately, with these 2 books, I don't have audiobooks, so I will probably be saying characters' names wrong. Apologies in advance if I do. But he's been working with Irene. They've been making good progress. He now has feeling in his foot, but things are slowly starting to heat up on this continent with things going wrong. For this book, I can't imagine that this is better read with a tandem because so much is going on within this one. You do kind of need a break at some points because it just feels like we're having plot twist, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist, and then like basically nothing is going on in this one. I think this would be too overwhelming to read at the same time, and this would be too boring to read at the same time. So I do actually like the tandem, and I'm very, very shocked to say that because I didn't have high hopes going into this. Something that I did do, which I feel like has really helped me, is I did get these special tandem read bookmarks from Etsy. I hope this is focusing, but it breaks the tandem up into little chunks, and I found that so motivating for help keeping me going, because generally we're only reading like 2 to 3 chapters at a time in each and then switching to another. Having said that, I do have a pretty free day today, and I'm hoping that we could get like 400 pages done. That would take us to about page like 450 in Empire of Storms, which would be this much of the way through. We would have this to go. Granted, that's still like 200 pages, but I don't think that's too bad. And then for Tower of Dawn, we would be right at like 500 pages in this one. And that would be like this much of the way through. And we would maybe have like 150 pages left. If we could get that much done today, I would be honestly the happiest girl on the planet. I don't want to be on these books too long. It is a lot to keep track of all of our different characters, especially with this one when everyone is separated. So I'm just kind of wanting to marathon these out, get it done quickly so that I don't start forgetting little pieces of the puzzle. And then time for Kingdom of Ash. Not to jump ahead too much, but I do feel a little bit more hopeful getting through Kingdom of Ash because I do have that as an audiobook, and I'm going to have the ebook through my library while reading that. So I'm just gonna have it in all forms, and an ebook and an audiobook will just mean that I can like really get through that one quickly. Whereas this one, due to all the switching between different books, I didn't do either of those methods, and I've just been reading with my eyes, and that just generally takes a lot longer. So we'll see how much I can get done today. It's Thursday, the start of my weekend, and I don't know how much more of this weekend on Friday and Saturday that I'm actually gonna have time to like dedicate a big chunk of my day to these. So the more I can get done today, the better. But thank you for listening to my 3.5 month debrief of where I've been at regarding this series. I was real scared to pick this up, but it has been going better than I expected, and we'll see what craziness we can get to today. Hi friends, I hope you don't mind, but we're just gonna be getting comfy in my bed as we do a little bit of a debrief. I'm at page 294 in Empire of Storms and page 412 in Tower of Dawn. As I mentioned in the last check-in, generally the little sections that we're flipping between are 2 to 4 chapters long. But our next section that we need to get through in Empire of Storms is this big middle part right here. It's from page 294 all the way until 485. I have to think something crazy is going to be going on in here, like a battle of some sort, because that's quite a long time to be spending in one book, and much longer than our usual. Where we're at in Empire of Storms is they're all in Skulls Bay trying to get Ralph's pirates on their side. And they just learned that all of Marath's armies are posed to strike Elway. So I fear we have a lot coming to us. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through all of this. Like 190 pages in one go is a lot. I don't even know what's coming next, y'all. These worlds just keep getting like so freaking detailed that I literally have like no idea what's coming next. It's so funny how like within the first few books of the series, like Assassin's Blade and even Throne of Glass, really there's almost no magic that goes into it. But now across these two books, I feel like there's been so many creatures introduced, and the network of magic that runs through these worlds just keeps expanding. I assume something crazy is gonna happen, but I hope our team, our squad, actually starts making some progress here, because I feel like we're just stacking up problems at the moment and we're not accomplishing anything. Let's see how the next 200 pages go. This is so painful. Did I finish this book, or did this book finish me? I hated the ending to this. The whipping was too much. I think we went too far, Sarah. I think we went too far. I was so mad at Manon for just staring and watching and letting this go to shit. But she had the keys. She couldn't get involved. The 13 showed up. They're gonna help. But I hated the ending to this. I like truly don't know if I've hated an ending to a book more passionately ever. So with that out of the way, I guess we are now finishing this book. My night has kind of been ruined. I hope the ending to this is not as painful. We shall see. Okay, honestly, I had to move downstairs to finish this book because the vibes upstairs were not giving. I'm honestly so scared for this. This one was less bad. I don't know how much I'm saying with that because I've never read a more heartbreaking ending than Empire of Storms. This was good. This does not fully compare to Empire of Storms, I fear. Two things I was really caught off guard by. I really was not expecting Duva to be the evil one. The pregnant lady? That's who we're gonna make the evil princess? Sarah did not hold any punches with the ending of these two books. I was also not expecting that Cole and Irene were already going to be married by the end of this book. I was a little caught off guard by that, especially because we found that Aelin and Rowan secretly got married. Very similar to how Feyre and Rhys got secretly married. But yeah, I guess we just have like a lot of secret marriage plots going on within these stories. I feel like maybe that wasn't necessary, even though I do love these two together. I mean, at this point, with all of the support coming from the South, it seems like Terrason's gonna be pretty well supported. And if Manon can get the witches on board, which we know she's going to, I mean, come on, that's like her whole purpose. That's her whole journey. I don't know how they're gonna lose this war. I guess it's just like, who are they spending time going after? Maeve or Erewhon? I don't know, dude. This is a lot. These stories are a lot. I'm so grateful that I don't have to read Kingdom of Ash physically, because like holding these heavy books is so uncomfortable. Like my wrist hurt. So I will be devouring Kingdom of Ash on my Kindle, and I'm probably gonna pick that up only in like a few days. At the end of this, I do love Cole so much more than I ever have, but did I need 660 pages of Cole? Probably not. I still think at the end of the day, this book could have been severely shaved down and probably would have been more well liked throughout the series because of that. But those are the only thoughts I can provide at this moment. It's too late for this. I've just endured so much emotional turmoil. I need to go to bed. But I'll see you guys in a few days with Kingdom of Ash. I'm really not sure if the gloominess outside is picking up on the camera, but it looks like it's about to storm here real soon. And I think that's kind of the perfect vibes, the perfect weather for finishing Kingdom of Ash. I have been reading this on my Kindle with the audiobook going, and I do have to say it makes it 200 times easier. And I've been getting through the book way quicker this way, but I did want a visual representation of where I'm at. And I am 40% of the way through, so I am here on page 379, and we still have all of this to go. Oh, guys, this thing is brutal to get through. Not only because it is so damn long, 100 pages is 10%, but the emotional turmoil this is taking on me is so real. I've had to resort to taking notes on my phone because there's just so many things that are going on. Oh my god. Okay, so at the beginning, all of the Maeve chapters when Aelin was stuck with Maeve and Cairn, I honestly rushed through that first 25% because it was just so painful. It actually put me in such a bad place mentally. Yeah, yeah, no, it's not very fun to see your favorite character being brutally tortured, physically, mentally, emotionally. So that actually put me in like such a terrible space. Then once she finally gets away, it actually just kept getting worse, because whenever Aelin finally breaks free, she runs into Gavriel and Lorcan, and she's just screaming, "Take it off," with the mask and the shackles and everything. Honestly, my heart hurt. Over the past few years, my claustrophobia has gotten much worse. And so I could just like imagine that feeling of like these shackles and this mask stuck on her that she couldn't take off. I was in physical pain just reading those chapters. It was also just so sad to see like one of your favorite and strongest characters in the book be in a state of such brokenness. I mean, after 28-30%, it was just so hard to carry on because I felt so emotionally drained. Even though I had time to read after that point, I just truly had no inclination to pick up the books, because even though Aelin was in a safer place, I just knew that Cole's stuff was all going down as well. Things with the witches are going bad, and Terrace things are going bad. If I just had to summarize like the first 40% of this, it's been so emotionally draining. And oh my god, where I ended off last is Aelin and the crew are trying to make their way back to Terrace, and they haven't made it back yet. They're probably like halfway there at this point. Rowan just dove in from the skies, a full-out plunge. He shifted a few feet from the ground, landing with a predator's grace as he ran the last steps toward them. Galdrin sang as she unsheathed it. What? Her mate just pointed to the skies, to what flew there. So I don't even know what is flying there, but I just stopped reading because I just didn't want to know. I probably am not in the mental space to finish this. If you plan on picking up this series, you truly like have to be in the strongest mental place. I severely underestimated that. It looks like whenever I pick back up, it's jumping to Cole and Irene, and things are not going very well, and Anil either. So I don't know, I'm just like honestly getting a little bit over it. It just is quite draining to read about every single character being in a conflict. I'm curious if anyone else had this feeling when getting through this book, but I just feel emotionally exhausted. But for now, I have my book, I have my Kindle, I have a drink, and I think this is as ready as we're ever gonna be. I unfortunately did not get to as far as I wanted to today, but we did get to part 2. So I'm just gonna count that as a win. We are now on Gods and Gates. That is 60% of the way through. And this is where I need to tap out for the day. I'm seriously wondering how anyone rereads this series, because it is seriously so emotionally exhausting. I'm going to need to take such a mental health break after this book is done. I can't believe people who say that this is their favorite series. Like, I understand the series is so good. It's masterful what she's done, but geez, this is tough to get through. With where we're at now, at least Cole and Aelin are all reunited and are on their way north, because oh my gosh, Adian and Lysandra like almost didn't make it out of there. Luckily, Manon now is in her witch era, so we love that for her. I don't know what the hell is going on with Dorian. I like really don't know what's going on with his storyline. He's been so weird in Empire of Storms and this book, and I highlighted whenever he was talking to Gavin, I think it was, and he asked, "Am I human?" I'm like, is Dorian gonna end up being a god or something? Because obviously like him and Aelin are descended from the gods. I will just be so honest though, like anytime we start talking about the gods and start getting into that lore, I really have like no idea what's going on. That stuff just like really goes over my head. I think on a reread is like the only time I would be able to grasp at all what's going on with that stuff. But yeah, we still have so much of this book left, and I feel like we've already had so many freaking battle scenes. Dorian is now on his way into Morath, which like I have no idea why he would be going into Morath with both keys. That just seems like so stupid to me. Why didn't he give Manon the keys before he left? Like, why would he take the keys exactly where Erewhon is and wants them to be? I'm confused. I feel like that's gonna turn out horribly. I feel like the gang's gonna like be all together, make it out of this huge battle, but then Dorian's gonna end up causing a bunch of issues. Maybe Dorian sacrifices himself. I don't know, because like Aylin's not gonna die at the end of this. This whole series is about her. That's where I'm at. Maybe I'm just not in the mental place to be reading and enjoying this book, but I don't know when I would ever be ready for this, because this is just so freaking much. Even though I'm only on page like 590 and I still have 400 pages to go, I think I'm just gonna try and get this over with. I need to find some type of closure, some type of happy ending. Throne of Glass truly has taken it out of me at this point, and I just kind of need the conclusion. That is where I'm at. We will catch up more tomorrow. As of yesterday, I have finished the Throne of Glass series. While reading like the last 40%, I did take a few notes. Something that I unexpectedly enjoyed and was very happy with how it turned out was everything with Dorian and Morath. I truly thought all of that was going to go so horrendously wrong. Whenever he got caught up with Maeve, I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. This is the problem that's gonna arise that all of our other characters are gonna need to bail him out of. But I was quite shocked that he was able to outsmart Maeve. It was nice to see that Dorian used his opportunity against Maeve to kind of retaliate for all that had happened to Aelin. However, he had the chance to kill her. The fact that he would intentionally choose to keep her alive was a bit frustrating. Adding to a little bit of frustration, I was really unsatisfied with Vernon's end. I felt like that whole interaction with him once we found him was just very underwhelming and honestly didn't make a lot of sense. Then, my next qualm was, what the hell was going on with chapter 98? These are my notes word for word because I really just need you guys to get the essence of what I was feeling. Aelin's going to die. Then it's Aelin and Dorian. Then Aelin and Dorian's dad. Then just Dorian's dad and Aelin gets to go back. And the gods still don't take Erewhon. So basically everything is the same except Dorian's dead dad is now super dead and Aelin has less powers. I had mentioned it before throughout this video of just like all this stuff with the gods did not make a lot of sense to me. And for that to be the conclusion, I was just like, why is this even a part of the story? Literally nothing gets accomplished except Aelin loses her powers. Did anyone else feel this way with the whole god situation? I just feel like for how well Sarah J Maas plots so many points, this didn't really feel well thought through, in my opinion. But I'm open to feedback in a constructive and healthy way. Once all that stuff happened, we finally had the moment we've been waiting for, Aelin to confront Maeve and Erewhon. And ironically, like Aelin actually hardly spends any time with Erewhon. Irene handles him. But anyways, for most of our characters, we find a happy ending for them. I definitely could have used more, a little bit of Adian and Lysandra. I honestly think they're kind of one of my favorite couples. From the start, I just loved Adian quite a bit, and I absolutely loved Lysandra's character arc. Her and Manon are some of my favorite characters because I just love the redemption that they got throughout the series. So I definitely could have used more from them, but it was nice to see all of these different storylines getting wrapped up. As I'm sure you could have guessed with all those notes that I listed, this was not a 5-star read for me, which I am so shocked and honestly sad to say. Like, I put so much time, effort, and emotional damage into this book and it not be a 5-star read, but I'm gonna leave you hanging on this official rating as we go through the rest of the books that we read in this series. Kicking it way back to Heir of Fire. I genuinely had forgotten a lot of my thoughts that I had while reading this, but looking back on this footage, I was like, damn, I kind of didn't like this book. Originally, I thought this was going to be like a 4-star read, but I think my official rating for this is going to be a 3.5. I really did not love the whole training aspect and how in a lot of ways it felt like the plotline was super similar to Throne of Glass. While I love that we got to meet Rowan, build that relationship, this is definitely not my favorite book in the series. And now onto Queen of Shadows. This was a book that I did feel a little bit of disappointment with because I understand what people mean when they say the story really shifts within this one because we start following so many different characters, the world really builds, but ultimately I think I'm gonna land on a 4 stars with this one. I did love seeing kind of the introduction to our court and everyone getting together for a common goal, but I don't think it had the emotional impact on me that a lot of people say that it has on them. Next, into Empire of Storms. Going into this and Tower of Dawn was so intimidating for me, but I actually think this is my favorite book in the whole series. This is an easy 5 stars. The plot in this honestly goes crazy. Even though we had a couple different battle scenes, I don't feel like any of them were too long. I feel like all of them were necessary for the allies that we needed to lean on for Kingdom of Ash. And this is such a pivotal point in the series, especially for Lysandra, who, as I mentioned before, is one of my favorite characters. Next, into Tower of Dawn. I feel like what Sarah did with Irene, pulling her all the way from the Assassin's Blade and making her such a key character, was mastermind level plotting. As I think a lot of people feel with this book, it is pretty slow, and I think it's longer than it needs to be. So in the end, this book is also going to be a 4 stars. And then we have Kingdom of Ash. This rating is honestly really hard to fully land on. Even though I've taken a full day, I feel like I can talk myself into a few different ratings. My inclination is to say a 4. Maybe on a reread, maybe if I could grasp the god elements a bit more, I would feel a little bit differently. But for now, I think this is a 4 stars. I have been yapping for a while now, so I think it's time to wrap up this video. I know this is a long one, so thank you so much for enduring it and sticking around. I think I'm gonna end up doing an official ranking top to bottom of this series on my TikTok. I'm trying to start a book talk, a bookstagram, I don't even know. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that down below if you do wanna end up following it. I would greatly appreciate it. Just wanted another avenue to connect with you guys and build our little community. But for now, this is where I will love you and leave you, so make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys!